you're on the move with Margaret, and here we are today. And this is a podcast where I interview women who inspire me, and I'm hoping that they'll inspire you as well. And it's just so lovely to be able to chat to different women, because we're all so busy and we sometimes just forget about our friends and realize that other people are doing the same as us, going through the same hardships and highs and that we go through. And it's just fabulous to have someone to share them with. So here today I've got Brenda Wilkinson, who's coming to us from the Cape. I'm going to say the Cape because I'm not quite sure what area of the Cape. And she'll tell you about it shortly. And from Worcester and the Cape. And she has a marvelous story to tell. And I just love it when somebody has just, started off something and just done so well. And my absolute dream is to make sure that every woman in the world is financially independent, so she doesn't have to rely on any man. And I always say, they say behind every successful man is a woman, but behind every successful woman is a man as well. So we've got to work together. And I love a family business. I love it when husbands and wives work together. I think it's just so important. So today, Brenda, come on in and tell us a little bit about Brenda. Let's go right to the beginning. Where did you grow up and where did you go to school? Tell us that the little Brenda, when she first started.
So the little Brenda started up in Johannesburg, where I think you are at the moment. And I matriculated and I did a teacher's training course. So I did 4 years at the Johannesburg College of Education. And then I taught it in Johannesburg at St. John's Prep. And I met my husband, who said, no, listen, I'm a St. Stithians boy. You have to move ship. And then he actually took me, we built a house together, and then we went to live in Malawi in 1990. We had a little daughter just before we left, and we went to live there we were there for 7 years. Nick he conned me a little bit, okay, because when I met him, he was a chartered accountant. And he was working at J.D. Anderson. I think it was J.D. Anderson in the bottom end of town at that time. And when he met me, he took me and said, no, we're going to go farming. And I was like, there's no farming in me at all. And he ran beautiful tea estates and macadamia. And he was very involved with the corporate agricultural company called Lonro. I don't know if you've heard of it. But we kept us very busy in Malawi, and he was busy with his chartered accountant work in this farming business, and I was teaching. And I ended up with my own little school called Happy Days. And after 3 years of that little school, we were moved by Lonro to Zambia. And we stayed in Lusaka, and then we were moved to the first farming experience that I had, to live on a farm, which was in Impangwe, which was 4 hours from any major town. And I absolutely loved it. I was a true happy farmer's wife. I walked the dogs. I had my vegetable patch. I cooked whatever we had from the vegetable patch. And I became a real housebird. We actually built a beautiful home there. Designed by a South African architect who's since passed very sadly, but we built a beautiful home there. And then my mum wasn't well, and the girls were going to Stellenbosch University. And I said to Nick, maybe we should move. We should have a look at going back to South Africa. And it was time for him. So we came back to South Africa, and we were heading to the Eastern Cape. And Nick went for a medical with his fabulous friendly doctor in Plettenberg Bay. And he said to him, Nick, you should be having some more olive oil in your diet. You've got really high cholesterol and high blood pressure. And Nick was like, olive oil? And so it became sort of in front of mind. And Nick had studied olive production in 97, he'd never done olives in Central Africa, but he was very involved in studying further because he loved farming. Farming was his passion. Chartered accountants is what he was trained as. And so he found this farm, which is outside Worcester, and it was called Rio Largo, which means, it's a Portuguese name for wide river. And we are on the banks of the Breda River. So we didn't realize, we really were very naive. We were as green as my shirt. And we took on this business with a name called Rio Largo, which is not an easy name. Because a lot of people confuse R's and L's in their vocabulary. Yeah. and it has a little fox as its logo, which we thought was quite funny because I was called Brenda Fox for some reason when I was in Zambia. And the fox is because the owner's name is Raposa. And so fox is in English. And so this was what we bought. And I was very excited. I mean, what was I going to do here? You know, there were trees and there was vineyards and it was close to Cape Town and I could visit my friends and I could visit my family. And so I was very content. And then Nick made a beautiful olive oil. And we bought here in June 2010. And in the August, he took this to a little competition in Paarl and he won a double gold award. And it was such an opening for us. Yeah, because we didn't even know very much about olive oil. We really didn't. But Nick has a very good palate and he has very good attention to detail. So everything he does really well. And he blended this oil and the flavors of this oil were really, I mean, I still remember that oil. And the smell of that oil, as you opened the bottle, was just green grass just everywhere. It was just the most beautiful oil. And it gave him a little bit of a pat on the back. You know what? This could be a business. And I thought all of you would hear that we got double gold and you would run to the gate and say, where is this product? I really, really need it. But nobody came. Yeah. And so we were sitting with thousands of liters. And I said to Nick, well, why is nobody coming to us? And he said, you know what? I think what we need to do is go out and tell everybody about us. And with a teaching background, I took a little basket. And my first point of call was a chef at Cape Town waterfront. And his first query to me was, what is your BEE status? And I was like, oh my word, I hadn't lived here for 20 years. I didn't even understand any of this. And so I was a bit crushed because I realized I knew very little about olive oil. I knew very little about the situation in South Africa. And so I took a while to gain confidence in taking this product out there. But then you also realize that you've just got to keep going. I'm sure, Margaret, you've just got to keep opening those doors and wait for somebody to say, you know what, I get what you're trying to do.
Absolutely. The tipping point is when your business goes and you got the gold medal and that tipped you into the next level. And now you had to continue and keep going to that next level. So what happened after that?
Well, it was quite fun because there were two people that I met that were serendipitous to me. So in the November or December, there was a carte blanche expose on bad olive oil in the restaurants, and especially in the restaurants in the Sandton Square. And I grew up in Johannesburg, so I knew Joburg was where I fitted in at the time because I knew how to do everything. And a lot of my friends were there, very few people that we knew here in the Western Cape. And I went off to a restaurant, the Butcher's Grill in Joburg, and a wonderful, and what do you call him? A maitre d' was at the door, Karl Heinz. And he said to me, I said, I've come to show you my olive oil. And he said, it was a Sunday. He said, are you desperate? And I was like, no, kind of. I said, but you're open and I'm in Johannesburg and everybody's busy. And I just thought I'd let you taste this olive oil. And he introduced me to Kirsten Joost from La Marina Foods. And he phoned her straight away and he said, Brenda, you must go and visit her. And Kirsten said, come on Tuesday on the way to the airport. And I went past and she tasted this oil and she called everybody in her business and she said, taste this oil. This is the oil we're going to sell. And she was incredible. She would just take that oil and put it in front of those chefs and say, this is the oil you're going to be buying. And I don't want you to argue about anything. It is a magnificent oil. So she was very instrumental and Carl very instrumental in putting us in touch. We still do business with La Marina. It was fantastic. And the other person that I met also serendipitously was the World Cup soccer in 2010.
Yes. Yes.
And there were a lot of tourists in the country. And I was at the airport in Port Elizabeth and very new to this whole story of olive oil. And I met a lady. A guy came up to me and he said, oh, can I take you on a safari? And I was like, well, it's a nice line, but I come from Zambia. no, I don't think it's really up my alley. And so Sue turned around and said to me, gosh, you put him in his place. And then we got chatting, and she said, what are you doing? And I said, we've just bought this estate in Worcester. And she said, the Rio Largo Estate. And I said, yes. And she said, please bring your oil to me. So two very
Oh,
powerful
really?
people, yeah, women that backed us, and that was great. So we were already into different restaurants and hotel groups right from the beginning, thanks to them. And then, you know how the women, we kind of get together and we do things for each other. I went to the Adele Searle 100 Club, and they had a little market at the end of the year, a little Christmas market, and people had little crocheted Christmas stockings and mince pies, and it was a very small market. And the wonderful Annette Kessler came up and she tasted my oil, Nick's oil, and she said, darling, I'm going to get hold of you in January. And in the January, she invited me for lunch at the Cape Grace. I thought, this is my kind of lady. And we went off and we chatted, and she said, I'd like you to sponsor our competition, which mentors young chefs in the kitchens of the famous hotel groups and the young chefs at the chef school. So we became involved in this sponsorship, which takes us to 25 top hotels in the country through Annette Kessler. And in the same manner, she took this oil and she put it in front of these chefs and she said, this is the oil you're going to use. So when you get backing from people like Annette Kessler, who was food editor of Fair Lady, nobody argues. And so we were able to get incredible exposure. Yeah. So it's been a fun project, and we never expected any of this to happen.
Now, from there, you started exporting as well because you supplied locally, and then I heard you started exporting. Tell us about that, because that's really something completely different.
And wonderful school friend who's in the dried fruit business, and she said to me, because they were quite fascinated that Nick and Brenda had bought this estate. And she said, Brenda, why don't you come with me and we'll go on the Department of Trade and Industry had fantastic programs, which she was very involved with. And she said, join it and we'll go and take this to the big food fairs in Europe. And so she said, we're going to France, we're going to Paris, and we're going to something called Ciel, and you will be there with your oil. And literally 2 weeks before we were meant to go, she called me and she said, are you ready? Have you booked your flight? Are you coming? And I said, I don't even know how to sell this in English. And you wanted me to do this in France. No, I just don't have the confidence. So we closed the book on that in the year 2011. And in the year 2012, we followed them as visitors to Anuga, which is one of the biggest food shows in Europe. And Margaret, it's like rugby fields of products, just little small stands of throughout this whole rugby field. And there's 11 rugby fields all in one place. And Nick took me and he said, we took one floor of olive oils and everybody's selling olive oil. And it wasn't big in South Africa. And he said, would we have done this if we'd known how much competition there was? And I remember turning around and saying, but look how many people there are. They just have to buy one bottle and we're done. So we stood behind, and I have to give the Department of Trade and Industry way back then were absolutely phenomenal. They paid us, they paid for our airfares, they paid for our booth, and they gave us a stipend to have hotel accommodation or however you wanted to spend it. And we were put in with very powerful branding from South Africa, and we were then taken across the globe. And it has been a most amazing program. It's a little bit different now, and we've joined different programs. But I think we also have become known globally. Not globally, we're not globally known, but we're more confident, shall I put it that way. So we've been able to stand on our own, and those positions have been taken up by other small producers needing that platform, it was amazing, Margaret, at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've got to go up in steps. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize when they start a business. You're not going to get from zero to hero in one step. It's all those little steps that take you up along the way that make a huge, huge difference and allow you to be able to get that business going and get it up and running. And also to be able to deal with the money because, if you get if you only used to a little bit of money, you get a lot of money, you don't know what to do with it. You sort of, so I think that to me, the steps that you took were absolutely the right steps. But then I heard Japan became one of your big outlets for olive oil.
Oh, that was such a fun story because we were taken by the Department of Trade and Industry and we went to Tokyo. And there was a Japanese gentleman, and he was walking down the aisles in a Springbok rugby jersey. And my daughter was with me, and she said, "Oh, Mum, I think he quite likes South Africa." And we got chatting. And he didn't know anything about olive oil, but he was so determined to do this business with us. And it's the most amazing country, and it's a beautiful place to share South African olive oil. It's not easy. It's really not easy to sell South African olive oil anywhere, let alone in Japan. But in a way, the Japanese clientele are so strict with their packaging, with their quality, with everything about what they do. And they taught us a lot. So we upped the game to make it work in Japan. So they've been a wonderful collaborator with us. And I think a lot of what it also took us globally was that we took our olive oil to global awards, to global competitions. And one of the first competitions we did was in New York. And I went over, and Nick said, "Well, go over and see what it's all about." And we met the most unbelievable crew of people involved in extra virgin olive oil. It's an amazing world that kind of bites you when you're involved in it because it's such a beautiful product. It's so natural, it's so healthy, and its uses are there's just so much you can do with extra virgin olive oil that people are still discovering. And so it's a fun place to be because every time you meet someone, they're doing something more exciting with this product. And it's all good, it's just wonderful.
Health and wellness now is the new industry going forward, and everybody's in the wellness industry because they realize it's no good being the richest person in the graveyard because if you're not healthy, you have nothing. So I think a lot of people are really taking that to heart now and getting involved in health and wellness. And what better way than olive oil? But then you think back to the old days, and I remember my parents buying their bottle of sunflower seed oil and coming back with that. Now, how do you educate people who are used to something like sunflower seed oil, and now you have to tell them about olive oil, which is more expensive? But at the end of the day, madam, it's going to be no good to you if you 6 foot under. So you may as well spend that money now and buy a good product that's going to make you healthy, rather than stick with one that's going to make you sick. How do you educate people in that way?
Oh, I think it's never ending, and I think we're not the only country faced with exactly that same problem. Is that people see it as an exclusive product. They see it as a rich man's product. But if you what we try and encourage people to do is to actually look at this product and say it is a staple. It should be milk, bread, olive oil, but extra virgin olive oil. And if you take the cost of extra virgin olive oil, but if you use a good olive oil, you don't need all the extra things that everybody tries to add in to make their food taste good. If you just have a simple chicken breast fillet and you drizzle good extra virgin olive oil. I just have to keep explaining that there's a big difference in olive oils. So if you have good olive oil on your grilled chicken breast, on your steak, it makes a great roast potato. You cook anything, all your vegetables that you can steam, and you end up with this beautiful olive oil drizzled over it with salt and pepper. It's mind-blowing how easy it is to create these beautiful dishes, and people tend to buy lots of sauce, lots of spices, lots of things to make their food taste good, and it doesn't taste good, but they try, and it's simple. And the other thing to remember is a good quality olive oil is a lot cheaper than a pharmaceutical. And we need to understand that if we start with good products, we really are going to lose those pharmaceutical products that have taken over our lives very, very soon. I don't know if you can see the green sticker.
Yes.
Okay, might not be too clear, but I'm going to just ask you to have a look for something like this when you're choosing an extra virgin olive oil in South Africa. So this is a sticker that is given to a producer when they've produced an olive oil of extra virgin quality that has been tasted and qualified for having no defects by a voluntary panel from the SA Olive Association. So that takes away all the dubious oils that are available to our consumers, because if they see that, then they will understand that that has been given the badge of good work from the producer to you. It's a really valuable score of choosing an extra virgin olive oil. And the other thing, as my husband always points out,
Yeah, and some of them are blends. They blend canola oil and sunflower seed oil and all sorts of other things, and then put a little bit of olive oil in and call it olive oil, but it really isn't. So I think as a consumer, you've got to really, I mean, I'm a great reader of labels. I'm vegan, so I have to, because there's always sneaking stuff in, and also I don't have sugar. So for me, I have to have something that's really, really good. And I read all the labels, and I think a lot of people really don't. But tell us now, going forward, all the different things that you do. You know, I love writing cookbooks, and I'd love to write a cookbook on olive oil because I do olive oil cakes and absolutely everything else. So tell us about all the side products that you do that are olive oil related.
I didn't bring any products with me, but we've had an amazing journey with a wonderful chef called Jody Ann. And Jody Ann won Sunday Times Chef of the Year, 2010 or 2011. Amazing, amazing individual. And we've always been in touch. I think because we came from the same school, although I'm much older than her. But she suffered badly during COVID. And she lost her taste and she lost her smell, which for a chef is just an awful situation. And she was using a lot of supplements, moringa, ginger, lemon, frankincense, lavender, and she had put all these supplements in front of her and every morning was using these different supplements. And then she phoned Nick and she said, why don't we put them in as one product, as a functional oil for people that understand the medicinal benefits of those essential herbs and the olive oil. And so we have a functional range, which is, it's amazing. And it's incredible where it's been accepted. Without us having to say too much, people have understood it. And then from that, we've also done a skin serum, which Annette Kessler is so wonderful because she's established and she's got a wonderful skin. And I said, if you try it, then you can give me a really good indication because you've used so many products and you know what your skin should feel like. And I gave her a sample and she came back and I said, Annette, what is it like? And she said to me, darling, it's very comfortable. And it's a beautiful product because it does just that. It doesn't mess with anything and it's a lovely product to use. And then we also do a hair serum because the benefits of putting olive oil in our hair has been known for years, so for centuries. So it's been a lovely addition. We also have an olive oil soap, but it isn't out commercially. We're just using it family and friends because we just have to get that production right still. And yeah, so it's been fun having those. And one of our fun products is lemon olive oil. So we have a real flavor lemon. So it's real lemons crushed with the olives. And Nick has created this beautiful lemon olive oil, which has got its awards in its own right. And if you add that to vanilla ice cream and you add a dash of salt, it makes the most incredible dessert. So it's just vanilla ice cream, lemon olive oil, and a dash of salt, and you have everybody raving about it. Try it. I really, especially when you go to Florida and it's so hot. Yeah.
Now, tell us about working with your husband all the time, because I mean, he was doing all the creative bit and you were doing the marketing. I'm just making this up. I don't know. And how did it work and how do you work together? Because I work with my husband and in the beginning it was really, really tricky, but you get used to it. And with us, we've got our own sort of sections that we do and we try not to stamp on each other's toes, but it's never easy working and living with your husband.
I've been very, very fortunate. Years ago, before we went to Malawi, Nick had an airline business because he loves to fly little aeroplanes in his spare time. And we had one of those, the death of that business, and it was in June. And he said to me, why don't you go and tell everybody about our business? And I was like, well, what do I know? I don't even fly aeroplanes. He said, just go and talk to the customer, see what they're thinking, what are they missing, what do they need? And so I did that then. But it didn't last very long because we sold the business and we went to live in Malawi. And so we had kind of worked together, but we'd also remember we had been together alone in very remote places. And we needed each other to get through those times together. And when we got here and he asked me to go out and do what I did with the olive oil, neither of us actually thought that it was ever going to be a business. And we just thought it would be fun for Brenda to go out there. And I always included a lunch with friends somewhere or doing something. But my most gracious idea of Nick and I working together is that he is the chartered accountant. I'm the creative one. So he allows me a lot of freedom and then says, okay, enough spending. Let's put it all back together again. But he's been generous and he's allowed me the creativity of those decanters, which is a crazy business model. It's really crazy. We have 56 designs. Everybody has a different idea of what they want. I don't know if you've seen them. This is the decanter. So they're on tap.
Yes, I love it.
And Nick has allowed me to have this as a fun project. But within all of this, Margaret, he has allowed me to play and play happily, but he's had a very good financial sense. So we've never really had to worry about what's happening on the business side. The oil accounted for award-winning every year consistently, which he is in charge of, and the finances of the farm. I remember when COVID struck and everybody was in panic, but Nick, being Scottish and being a chartered accountant, had a very strong sense of what...
I told all my grandsons, you all have to do accounting because at the end of the day, it all boils down to money and you have to know how to do those sums at the end of the day. But now tell us about the people, because you couldn't run this whole place by yourself. So when you bought the farm, there were obviously people living on the farm who came with the farm. And then how did you grow that sort of team? Because you work as a team.
Oh, we have the most amazing team of people. Living in Worcester, we're outside of Worcester on the Breda River. So we're about a 30-minute drive out of the town of Worcester. So we have a truck that goes in and fetches our people. We have the most amazing people working for us. We can ask them at any stage, listen, guys, there's been a problem. We had a fire in January. Our staff put themselves first and they fought that fire with everything they had. It was unbelievable to see. Unbelievable to see. We then had a flood. So January was fires, February was floods. And once again, our staff I have some fabulous stories about them like trying to clean everything up, trying to prepare themselves. And suddenly this water just came down from the mountains behind us. Again, everybody put themselves out. And if there's orders that they know, like an export order that has a ship that's going to sail on a certain day and we're running behind it, they're very happy to come in. Also, olive farming is difficult. It's not easy. We have vineyards and we have olive trees. So we kept very busy on this farm most of the year. And you're out there in the heat, you're out there in the cold. And these people, they are just the most wonderful people, backing us right through from the soil right through to what we present on the table. A huge respect for all of them. Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible. And yeah, and you obviously give them employment, you look after them, and you make sure that their families are looked after as well, which I think is incredible. My greatest joy is that I actually feed 15,000 mouths every single month. So to me, that is fantastic that I can do that and I can look after those people like that. Now, tell us, how do you train them? Do you just sort of bring them in and do they learn what we call learn by rote? You know, you watch what she does and you do the same thing, or how do you train them?
The business has changed. So we had a core staff that we took on from 2010. Incredible people. They had lived on this farm. Most of them had been born in the area. So they had known exactly what happens. In fact, they sometimes came and told us, this is not happening this year and it should be happening. Incredible. So they were our core business. But as the business got bigger,
Yeah.
and we haven't really grown the amount of trees or the amount of vineyards, but the business side of things has got more busy. And we've also had a lot stricter or a lot harder working conditions. So things have to be kept under control. We do have a training program. The Western Cape government has wonderful programs on offer. So we take advantage of those whenever we can. We do in-house training if we get people. Let's, for instance, say we need more packers in our shed. We do in-house training for them. But they catch on very quickly because it's a fun business to be involved in, and there's always someone to help.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we're on track with all of that with our staff. We love having new people to learn, and sometimes it's been fun to see someone that's been given the role of you teach this person what you've learned,
Yeah.
and to see the pride and the way they do it. It's just lovely to watch. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, to other women out there, there's a lot of women out there who want to go ahead, to do something different, to try something different, but it's only fear that holds you back, and they have this fear. And as you said, you had to get your confidence up, and a couple of times your confidence was knocked down, and you just had to pick yourself up and keep on going. What do you say to the women who are sitting out there at home thinking, "Oh, it was all very well for them, they've done it, and they've got these businesses going, and I'd like to start a business, and I'm a great one. I love starting entrepreneurs in their own businesses because." I believe it's the entrepreneurs that kept this country alive during COVID. If it wasn't for us entrepreneurs, I don't know what would have happened to this country. We honestly just kept going and kept the whole place alive. What do you say to other women who come to you and say, "Oh, I'd love to start something like this, but where do I begin?"
When my daughter finished her Bachelor of Commerce, and she said, "So, Mum, what am I going to do?" And I said, "You're going to have to put that in a drawer, and you're going to have to go and find some doors to kick open." And I think you've
Yeah.
just got to be very brave. If you have a vision, there's always someone to share that with you, that journey. And you've got to open up and say, "This is what I'd like to do. What do you think? And how do I get my first lot of help?" And I think,
Yeah.
especially women, I don't know how it works amongst the men, but we always have women that are willing to be there when that 3 o'clock WhatsApp comes in the morning and you're still awake and you're going, "What are you doing on WhatsApp?" And they go, "Well, I'm feeling like this. Well, this is what you should be doing. And don't worry, and I think because we're women, we have to juggle families and be the person that provides for everybody that works for us. And I think it adds
Yeah.
on a lot to what we have to put forward. But I think take a step and take the next step and then take the next step. And I always think of the story of someone that told me that it was 1,001 days before your business can be called a business. And I've used that so many times, and people have said to me, "Oh, it's just not working." And I go, "Have you done 1,001 days?" And they go, "What do you mean, have you done 1,001 days?" I go, "I don't know." But after 1,001 days, if the business has integrity, it seems to carry on and it gets a lot of people through. It's not easy. And I think for me, and I'm sure for you, it wasn't a big financial thing for me because Nick had always secured that. But I understand it's terrifying when there's no money, and you've got to take that next step.
Well, with me, I was always the money person. My husband has never, I always say he's had the easiest life out because he never ever worried about money because I was always worrying about money. His joke is always our bank manager worried about the money, but I've always done the money, and I'm a great believer in women doing the money. I could never be married to an accountant, I have to tell you. And it would be the death of me. But Yeah, just so tell us now about your daughter now. Is she involved in the business as well, or has she gone on her own little route?
It's a tough one, the succession. And, I don't know, but we've seen a lot of our friends that have gone into their parents' business. I know in Japan, for instance, you must go into your parents' business. And if it isn't their passion, and I think we also live in Worcester, which is not everybody's cup of tea. We love it. We've got fabulous friends around here. It works for us. But our children were grown up, they were at university, and it was a different stage in our lives. If they were lying on the floor, kicking and screaming and saying that's all they want to do, we would reconsider. But we have one daughter who's very involved in sustainability, and she's involved in reforesting Malawi in an area called Zomba. And so she works from home. She has little twins, so difficult for her to come into something like this. And, I'm not a good role model, so I don't think it would be fun to carry on what I do. And then our other daughter could easily have taken it on. She's a winemaker. So winemaking and olive oil is very similar processing. So she could easily take it on. But I also think that she's a big city girl. She loves Cape Town. She's got all her friends. She does everything there. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's succession
Not at
planning
this
is always a
stage.
problem.
Put it, I mean, never say never, but not at this stage. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
just thinking back when you started, did you ever sort of stand in the field and think, "Oh my gosh, what have I done? What have I taken on?" Because I know sometimes in my life we've taken on things, and I was just thinking about one of the projects we took on, and I just went ahead without all the legal documents being done, and then it took longer than I thought, and I just thought, "Oh my God, what have you done?" And there's only one way we got to go forward. We just got to work through this. So, have you ever gone through that stage? Because there's a lot of women in business who I deal with who think they're going along quite merrily, and then one day they just wake up and say, "Oh my God, Margaret, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know what to do." And I said, "There's only one way. Just keep going forward." What do you say to people in that stage? And have you ever been there?
I don't think I've ever been there because I think I was just so naive. I never really realized what I was doing. We went to a food show in Johannesburg and we had to get this product out there. And it was, I mean, we didn't even know what we were doing. And here we were standing there trying to tell everybody this is what the product has be sold. I think I put it down to my naivety that I didn't have an idea of what we were doing that was going to be a business, that I was going to be this marketing lady that would take olive oil across the globe. And I've traveled so much with this olive oil. I've gone from Peru to Moscow to London to New York. I mean, it's just been incredible where it's taken me. And the people that I've met is the incredible group called the Women in Olive Oil, which was started during COVID. There was a lady in America and she put together this women on a Facebook group. And we now communicate with people from Morocco, from Tunisia, from New Zealand, Australia, across the globe. You'll have a woman from Palestine talking to a lady from Israel. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And all because of a great product. But I've never really felt overwhelmed, except that I think also because I've been teaching and I did it slowly, slowly, slowly. I think, yeah, I don't know. But
I think that's the knack to just go slowly, as they say it. I have a home in Zanzibar, pole pole, which means slowly, slowly, and you'll get
yes,
there
yes,
eventually. But
yeah,
tell us now
yeah.
about olive oil. I mean, you've done the soap, you've done the cream, you've done all the food stuff. And obviously you have it a lot at home. Is there anything that you can't put olive oil on?
Gosh, I wouldn't say so. I think I don't know if you saw the movie Big Fat Greek Wedding and they have Windex in their house. And my girls always say, Mom, Windex is not part of your life, but olive oil is on everything. It cleans the pearls, it does the hair, it turns the squeaks in the doors, it's a furniture polish, it's a floor polish, it's a everything. Yeah, we use olive oil for everything. And it's such a natural product. Margaret, I kind of liken it to fresh orange juice. So if
Yeah.
you take a fresh orange and you squeeze that juice, there's nothing added, there's nothing taken away. And you understand the value of that from a cordial because you know that it's a natural product. And so for us, extra virgin olive oil is a fruit juice in our home. and we use it like that. It must be used within 2 years from date of picking. And it must be stored correctly during the time that you use it. But it's a completely natural product. So, yeah, I think you just got to, as I say, the people that we keep meeting, experimenting more and more with what they do with their olive oil. Yeah.
Now, being a farm girl, I sort of imagine you getting up really early. I'm an early bird. I get up at 4 o'clock every morning. But have you always been an early bird, or do you work till late at night? Because I do both. Start from early in the morning. I work till late at night every night anyway. But I just imagine you getting up really early in the morning to get everybody going and get the people picking, and then what happens? What do you do after that?
Well, we have the wonderful Samantha who helps us, but I don't have a role in that part of the farming. I do get up early. I love the early mornings, and we're very grateful here because we have the morning sunrise and we have the evening sunsets it's splendid displays every day or most days. But I think I work better. Sometimes I get out of bed at 3 in the morning and then I just work crazily and it's my best time. I used to do those kind of sneak out and work because my office is in the house, and Nick would come and grab me by the collar and say, "Your place is in bed, and you're coming to bed." But he's long since got used to me working crazy hours whenever I want to, because it's the work has to be done. And sometimes I'm off the farm doing deliveries or doing education for different chefs or different schools or different places. And I'm just not behind my computer. And then I get into bed and I just can't relax. So the best thing for me to do is get up, work sometimes through the night. I love it. And then I'm more in control. And I don't feel tired because it's just something that you just have to do. So, yeah. But it is very early mornings. Yeah.
I'm so glad to find a like-minded soul, because I often do that too. I can go right through the night and work right through the night and carry on the next day and keep going. But
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to retire, because I can still do that now. When you think, as business owners and women, we are tested over the years in 1,000 different ways. What do you think? I mean, we've had the weather, as you said, we've had floods, we've had fires, we've had looting, we've had all sorts of things, and we've just had to
Yeah.
keep going. What do you think tested you the most through this whole journey?
Hard one. I think competition. I think that am I allowed to say all these things on a public platform? But anyway, I think our competitors gave me the hardest time because all
Yeah,
I want is for people to experience South African olive oil. We have an
yeah,
incredible industry here. We have
yeah,
world-class olive oil at very, very
yeah,
affordable prices compared to the rest of the
yeah,
world. And I want all of us in the industry to work together and to actually just celebrate South African olive oil. But I keep getting this, what is her intention? There has to be a back plan for her. She's got some ulterior motive. And I'm sad. I think that is the biggest, if I have to say that, the biggest sadness for me is that we're not working together as an industry. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Because you've built your industry across countries, across all sorts of different platforms, and you've done incredibly well with it. But I think, yeah, even with me, people often say, "Oh, no, we don't want that product." And I say, but it's such a good product. And I know it's a good product, but to convince them, it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy. So now you've built your home, you've got your business and that type of thing. What do you actually do for fun? How do you enjoy yourself? I mean, you like me, I love my work. So to me, it's not even work. I just love going there and doing what I do. But and people always ask me, what business am I in? And I always say I'm in the people business, because at the end of the day, it's all about people. It's about your staff. It's about your suppliers. It's about your customers. We are in the people business no matter what we're doing. But how have you managed this? Because the women who are watching this are women who want to be businesswomen, want to be successful businesswomen, and just give them a few hints and tips of what they need to do along the way.
Yeah, I think first of all, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you, Margaret, because I do think that your integrity is about helping others, and you have displayed that. You really have, and you've been there for us so many times, even during the times that I've been on this journey when I've needed something, and Margaret will help me. And so I think you've been
Yes.
unbelievable, and I really do. I salute you for everything that you've done for other people. So what would I say for that, and I would do for fun? I agree with you that my business has become a fun. It's almost daunting for everybody that I'm involved with, because it's very hard to separate Brenda the olive oil lady from Brenda the
Yeah.
friend, because there's always
Yes.
olive oil involved. Either can you bring some
Yeah.
olive oil for me when you visit, or let's go cooking together, or let's go
Yeah.
to a cooking class, or let's go to a trade show together. So I think it's very
Yeah.
hard to separate me.
Yeah.
But for fun,
Yeah.
I love to be with my family, and I love to be with my good friends, and just be, with no ulterior
Yeah.
motive, just be together and just
Yeah.
catch up. Yeah.
I think as
Yeah.
South Africans, we're actually genuinely good people. And now, having lived in the States for 3 years and come back, it's just you don't realize what fantastic people we are. And when people say, "What's the difference between America and South Africa?" I say, definitely the people, because we are all really good, genuine people. I believe. But if you had to go back to the beginning and start all over again, what would you do differently? Do you think?
Again, the naivety in me comes out, is that I don't know if there would be another journey, because every little step that we took ended up being what Rio Largo is today. So it wasn't intentional. I didn't say, I want to do this with an olive oil. Our packaging, we become known for our quality. We become known for our packaging. And so, yeah, the next step I can tell you is a reusable decanter. So I feel very strongly that extra virgin olive oil is expensive in your basket, but it's cheap in your wellness. And so, in order to help our consumers to make better choices, I've tried to reduce the amount of packaging. So, if you know what Rio Lager tastes like, and you like it, because that Nick always says you need to like the taste of it, and we say try it, you'll love it. But then, if you use the reusable, you're just buying the bags. So you're just buying the oils. I have to sell it to you in something. I can't just get the olive oil into your house. So I have to use something. And by using the reusable, we're trying to make it more affordable. So that's that project. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Now, often when you walk through the estate today and you look at it and you look at the people and you look at the products, and you realize you've built this amazing brand, how do you feel?
Humble, because what I've been presented with is a life that has, and I never anticipated. It's a beautiful place to live. I'm going to say that we are in a magnificent area. We have mountains around us. We have a river in front of us. We have olive trees, which are beautiful trees that don't give you any hardship. They've got a beautiful color. They're evergreen, and they give us a beautiful product. We have vineyards around us, and it's a simple escape from the city life, and yet we're so close to the city life. And I think humble because it's been very kind to us, and it's allowed me to travel. It's allowed me to meet incredible people. So, yeah, very definitely a humbling experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I think both you and I didn't realize what we were letting ourselves in for. We just sort of, it evolved into what we started small and it
Totally.
evolved into what it is today, which is just amazing. And did you have a mentor, or did you just work with people and sort of copy what they did to get ahead?
I'm going to use one mentor as Tom Mueller, and he wrote a
Mm.
book he wrote the book, I think it was in 2010. And the book was called I have to remember now, The Scandalous World, The Sublime and Scandalous World of Extra Virgin Olive Oil. And I read this book, and we'd had the carte blanche expose, and then this book came out, and it changed the way I felt about food. And I felt that the consumer is so duped. The consumer is so duped into buying something on a label or by a retailer. And I just felt that I needed to get that out there. So I think I actually wrote to Tom Mueller. I wrote to the publisher, and I wrote to Tom Mueller, and I said, please come and visit. And he came out, but I was, again, it was too new in the industry. I didn't have the contacts that I had, so I couldn't really get him to meet the likes of you. We had a very, very small group, and he was very powerful because he exposed how terribly fraudulent this product can be, which is why that green sticker is so important. But it was, I think, definitely that. And we had a wonderful group here for lunch last Monday. And one of the ladies said to me, she said, why are we convinced by retailers to buy cheap products that make somebody wealthy and make us very unhealthy? And I look at
Yes.
this and I go, we really need to get that out there, just
Yeah.
question what you're buying and what the reasons, why are there rows and
Yes.
rows and rows of crisps? Why are we not rows and rows of vegetables, Yeah. So it's a big education, big change of mind.
Now, your parting shot to the businesswomen out there who are like us, businesswomen to the T. We're working hard all day, every day. What are you going to say to them for their life going forward?
So I'm laughing because I don't see myself as a businesswoman, which is really funny. And Nick will probably agree with me. But what I'd like to say to them is enjoy the journey, share it, and stand out there and hold hands and ask for help because there is help out there.
Absolutely. Well, Brenda, thank you so much. Your story is such a powerful reminder that sometimes the biggest opportunities don't start as business ideas. They start as small decisions. And as I always tell my entrepreneurs, start small and take small steps and learn to handle the money along the way. That's so, so important. And what you do with that defines your outcome. It really is. So to everyone watching, thank you for joining us on The Move with Margaret. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time. And just know that olive oil also tastes delicious on ice cream too. Shane tried it at the Rio Largo farm, and he said it was amazing. So you can put it onto absolutely everything. It's such a healthy product. It's so good for you. Your body's the temple of your soul. You've got to look after it. And it's no good being the richest person in the graveyard. You've got to make sure that you're healthy. And this is one sure way to make it. So, Brenda, thank you so much for being on the show with me today. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here. It's been amazing. I've learned a lot. And I can't wait to come and visit you. I'm in the States now until the end of October, but I'm going to phone you and come and visit you when I come back for Christmas this coming year. It's going to be incredible. I can't wait. Thank you so much.
I just want to say thank you, Margaret. It is such an honor, and I really have always admired you. It's my honor to be here today. Thank you for sharing our journey.